Hello. It's been a few days here, but today we're breaking down my mechanics. This is from a couple weeks ago. This is the first time I stepped on a mound to throw a baseball, and I probably did it at some point last winter, just messing around, but a long time. That's my point. It actually felt pretty good. So obviously, a lot of you probably don't know, but when I was in college, I got hurt. I had a shoulder impingement, which is basically like a bone fragment, like hooking on a tendon or a muscle, and it would irritate me when I threw. So I was dealing with that. I went to physical therapy, started to feel better. I came back and I thought it was better, but it was really just me compensating for the pain. Like I was throwing differently. I was pushing the baseball as opposed to, actually throwing because throwing would hurt. So like, in my mind, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm throwing, but I would really just kind of be pushing the ball. And then, so that happened. I think that was my sophomore year where I had the shoulder impingement. And then my junior year, um, was when I tried to come back and I was really pushy. And COVID also happened that year. Um, so our season got canceled. Yeah. And that's what happened. I don't know why I'm like getting my own story mixed up here. But we had no season that year. So everything was shut down. Everybody knows what happened. But and then the next year, the following year. So this was my senior year. Um, Still affected by the shoulder impingement. It was just something that I could never really. It still kind of affects me. Like I feel it a little bit on this throw. It doesn't feel great when I throw, but this actually felt better than I thought. And I could probably tell you why in a little bit, but um, so shortened season, 16 games. We had like 3 weeks of practice. Um, about 5 days into the practice, a few kids got COVID. They shut everything down for our team, so we couldn't practice for 2 weeks. And then we had a 16 game college season starting. We had 3 days of practice before opening day. Very no strength and conditioning during that time. Very limited in the months and weeks previous. It was nothing like uh, a typical season. Nothing like a typical season. Um, and then they threw us into the fire as with 3 days training, essentially 3 days to build up my arm, 3 days to. I mean, it's not like I was playing catch and stuff, but it was not intentful. It was not baseball practice, right? Um, so there's that. And so the strength and conditioning was limited, and I was pushy, so like that didn't help. So I ended up tweaking my pec minor, and I was like, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. Like don't feel great, but I could throw through it, and I could. I tore my pec minor almost all the way, partially torn, and I still continued to pitch. Believe it or not, I don't know how. I don't know what the was wrong with me, but um, my Coach E, came out and got me, and I'm glad he did, to be honest, because it would have just kept getting worse. But that's my story there. I just wanted to go over that because I nobody knows that really. And I mean, if you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. But let's get going with my mechanics here. Okay. So first, I have these lines drawn on my hips here. So I'm immobile. I am not a good mover. I was never really a great mover, but now it's way worse. I'm an athlete, but like I'm a stiff body. Um, I always have been. I'm not going to claim that I'm an athlete now, but we'll see. Um, so the red line is suggesting my hips mobility here, while I have the yellow line suggesting the hip mobility of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You can't really see the full thing here. Why is it like that? There we go. If you found me in this position today, I'd probably need a stretcher to get to my next location. I'll pull it up again. There's that. And then you can go back to me. And I'm severely limited. I mean, the yellow line would suggest where Yamamoto is at. And he's not a big guy. Let me find out his height and weight really quick. Five 176. I mean, I actually might be a little heavier. I don't even know. I haven't stepped on the scale in a while. But let me go back to that picture. This is why he can throw mid-90s, because he is, I mean, the mobility, the ability to hold tension in his hips here while he moves down the mound is what helps him throw 95. So I'm clearly just not capable of that. Like I said, if you saw my hips like in this sort of position, I would need medical attention. Obviously, it's capable of increasing your range of motion, which I could definitely use through mobility exercises. That's a really, really big deal for pitchers. People don't do that enough. Like, if I could increase my window to move from this red line to the yellow line, that would help me significantly. It would be difficult, obviously, but it would be an incredible help. So that's one thing I noticed, and I wanted to point it out, that at 5'10", 176, mobility and obviously clean mechanics is how Yamamoto can throw mid-90s consistently. Like, you can have clean mechanics, and my mechanics over here, like, they're not bad. They're severely limited by my body's movement. But like, if you have decent mechanics, increase your body's range of motion. Like, it increases your body's ability to move. Speed is distance traveled in a certain time. So if we can increase the distance that something travels in a given time, we're increasing the speed that whatever X is moving. Do you understand? That's the goal in mobility, is increasing the window for the body's movement capability. Let me get rid of this here. Let's go back to I was actually surprised about how it felt, how it looked. I mean, so in college, again, this is, excuse me, partially why I ended up with a shoulder impingement was probably because I was very toe dominant back here. I don't have any video, like clear video from college, but very, very toe dominant back here. And that would cause all my mechanics to be early, and then my arm to be late as I get into foot strike. That was my problem in college for sure. And I guess it's not like I would have been a world beater if I know what I know now, but it definitely would have helped a little bit to just step on the mound and kind of feel this. So what I'm thinking about is I'm just thinking about keeping my shin bone as tall as possible as I move down the mound. This is what's helping me drive, right? This out. My knee is externally rotating as I move down the mound. See that? That is what helps me drive down the mound. That's what keeps me in the hallway. Externally rotating on that back knee. And you can see that my effort is to hold this back here, hold everything back. And like I was actually, so my theory is like if you do well on your backside well enough, that everything down the line is sort of going to come and clean itself up a little bit. And it will. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, you know. It's not like if you do the back foot right, everything's perfect. But like if you set up your drive leg well, then everything down the line becomes much easier. Like this is, I mean, this is pretty good. I always had a problem with my front shoulder flying open, and that was because I was toe dominant and just all my mechanics were early, while my arm was late. So you'd see my arm still being like pulled up as my foot hits the ground. But here I'm in a good position because I'm able to keep my weight back. It gives my arm some time to catch up, and then it gets on time. Um, Not bad. Again, like my hips and shoulders are just moving as a unit right here because I'm so immobile, and that's something that you can clean up, you can work to improve. And my front side could be a little bit stronger. I'm just a little bit rotational here. I want this glove to kind of be up more towards my chest a little bit. And I do get maybe a little pushy. It's kind of tough for me to tell. I don't have a very good view here. Still maybe a little pushy, kind of like throwing a football. Which makes sense because I do throw the football quite a bit too. Um, so there's definitely a few things to clean up, but I was pretty astounded by how good it felt just because maybe my arm was on time. I was able to hold my mechanics back enough to let my arm be on time for the throw. It didn't, and I mean, I didn't, I didn't do any warming up. Do not do this. This is I'm done with my baseball career at this point. My right arm barely works. Do not be like me here. And also, the lead leg block is not great. I mean, my hamstrings are locked up. I can't touch my toes. I never really could, to be honest. I think that's touching your toes is pretty hard. Excuse me, holy crap. But it's not bad either. Like, I'm stabilizing my momentum, I'm stopping myself in that direction. Um, it could just be better. A little bit spinny. Not bad, though. I like this spot right here. And you can see that this is where I build up that tension in my back hip as I move down the mound. It's like not very tense, not very tense, 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 tense. And I get a little bit disconnected. A little bit. That's really not, it's not too bad. I'd like to see my foot turn over like on the mound and not get this like, pull off drag line, whatever you want to call it, whatever people call it. This was pretty good though. Me and my training catcher's mitt. What did that hit? I don't remember throwing too many strikes, I'll say that. That might have done it though. That might have been it. Those might have been my only two good ones. I mean, as far as being around the zone, I was actually pretty impressed with how my mechanics look. And it's not like I bet you with like a little bit of training, I could throw harder now than I ever have. I mean, I don't really like that one too much. I like the first one better. It comes from me just transferring my. I want to still transfer my weight forward a little early. I want to stay back for a little bit longer, and maybe not even get so far down the mound. I mean, this is a my hips are not very mobile, so a stride length like that might be something that I want to look at. But I think really not bad though. I would just want to increase my body's ability to move, which is, and I need to. Oh, I do like. I'm just getting a little bit disconnected here on my lower half. I like how it's working. It needs to stay connected a little bit more. I'm not going to be able to lead leg block ever. And just talking about my arm action, this is let me play the rest of the video. See if I try to mess around with it a little bit. Oh, clearly that wasn't a good one. Last note. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the arm action and what we're trying to do here. Pretty good counter on the top half right here. Loaded back hip. That's what we're going for. So just a couple notes about the arm. Everybody's arm can move. I mean, everybody's unique, but we all have the same principles that we need to check off. And really, as long as we get into a position here where we're between, I got all these arrows going here. Let's call that 90 degrees and 45 degrees. We want to be in this little window right here at foot strike. This is the strongest position for us to bring our arm through and enter layback. That's actually like my scap is so tight. I mean, that's right there is about as retracted as it's gonna get. That's about as far back as I'm gonna get, which is crazy. And a couple things. So the closer you keep the ball to your center of mass, the more consistent your arm action is going to be. The longer you get out, the more potential for arm speed you have, but the consistency may vary a little bit. That's why it's tougher to get on time with a very long and loopy arm action. This is what feels natural to me. I think it doesn't remind me of what I used to do, which is interesting. Again, I wouldn't know because I have no video. Yeah, I might be able to find some in my my drive, but this is actually not bad either. Like this, you see this, like bring the ball up the side and flip up into arm action. This is actually like you see Chapman does that. I mean, a lot better than me, but that's how Chapman throws. A lot of high level throwers do this. And I mean, to my last point, I actually didn't even make this point yet, but the closer that you generally, the closer that you have something to yourself, the stronger that it's going to be, right? Like if I got my TV remote right here. If I held this like way out in front and said, take it from me, you'd probably have a good time or an easier time taking it from. Here, let me just do this. Like a good time take. This would be easier to take from me. And what if I did this, right? Like if I held it close to me, this would be like much more difficult to take out of my hands. So, like by nature, something that's closer to our center of mass is we're going to have more strength there. Um, and this never really gets too far. Where some people like to, like really, too many arrows. Some people really like to get like, so I'm pretty extended on my front side. People will really like to get like extended back here too on their arm side. And then like throw out of that straight arm position. That's not what we're looking for. It's okay if we get extended back there, but we still need to hit this position right here at foot strike where we get ay, ay, ay. All right, this really doesn't want to work right now. What the heck just happened? There we go. Gonna get into that position here. Inside 90 degrees and 45 from, I never took anatomy. Humerus. 90 and 45 degrees from the humerus. How's that? Anatomy. That's all I got for today, guys. Thank you for listening.